Welcome to the Laguna Caribe RV Resort in beautiful Fort Myers, Florida. Join us today as we learn of the sacrifices that Major Jon Turnbull made for our freedom.
These are the faces of heroes. Many still bearing the invisible wounds of war, PTSD, and trauma.
I left Vietnam, but Vietnam never left me. That's how I'm living.
Why did I come back?
Why are they gone and I'm not? You know, what have I done to deserve to be here?
Our mission is listening and hearing, helping and healing for those who sacrificed and those who continue to sacrifice. The mission today and every day is Operation Healing Heroes. Brought to you by Great Clips. In January of 2019, Major Jon Turnbull led a covert team of 8 special forces, men and women, into the ISIS stronghold of Manbij, Syria.
Around 12 o'clock in Syrian time, around 6:30 in the morning here in the United States, the ISIS suicide bomber walked up to my team and detonated a suicide vest.
The blast would kill 23 people, including 4 Americans and many Syrian children.
How far was he from you when he detonated this?
So at the time of the explosion, I was about 5 feet away from him when he detonated his vest. I was very close. I was able to see the whites of his eyes, I could describe his facial features, all the horrible things that I'll live with the rest of my life.
Major Turnbull was given a 0% chance of survival, and after flatlining 3 times and enduring 22 life-saving surgeries to date, Jon is a walking and talking medical miracle. This is the story of a soldier, a husband, a father, and an American patriot who loves his country now more than ever.
So our story started kind of way back when we moved to a small city in Michigan, and when we moved there, we moved in with my grandparents until our house was built. And my grandparents, they basically said, hey, you're going to this campground with us. If you're living under our roof, you're going to church camp. And my dad was a pastor, and I just thought, I don't want to go to church camp. I don't want to get preached to all week. I just want to go somewhere relaxing for the summer, go to this campground. First person I meet was Jon.
What a hunk.
And so we met when I was 12. At the time, he was 16. He was in the reserve, well, just joining the reserves, or JROTC. And when we first met, he talked military. He knew that's what he wanted to do. At 16 years old, just said, I'm ready. This is what I'm going to do. And after the week that we spent together at this campground, we said goodbye. We didn't really ever think we'd see each other again. He lived 3 hours north of where I lived, and of course we were young. So 3 years later, I was turning 16, and we were at our church, and I was really involved in our church's youth group. And one person who I looked up to the most in the church was a lady named Suzanne. She had asked me one Sunday, she said, hey, I'd really like you to meet my nephew. He's here today. I think you guys would hit it off as a good couple. So I was like, yeah, okay. And as she had said that, in walks Jon into the church sanctuary, and I was like, hey, hold that thought. A guy who I knew a few years ago, I haven't seen him in a while, he just walked in, and I'd like to go say hi to him. And she was like, funny, that's my nephew. And so she's like, well, now you have to go to lunch with us, at least after church. And the rest is history from there.
Jon was committed to West Point and to Samantha.
Being accepted at West Point was a huge milestone. I remember the day when I received the notification that I'd been accepted. You know, when doors open, doors close. I like to say that, that's God, kind of showing you which direction to go. Well, that's a big door to open because that's not one I was doing on my own.
I knew he was going to West Point at the time just because when he went to church that Sunday with us, the pastor made an announcement, just said, hey, Jon Turnbull's here. He was just accepted to West Point, wanted to pray over him. And I was like, West Point? I don't really know what that is. My family was not from a military civil service family at all. And so I, being young and kind of dumb, I was like, what's West Point? And I actually had a good friend of mine, she leaned over, she goes, Sam, do you realize what West Point is? No, not really. And so she told me, hey, it's military academy. I goes, okay. John and I, we hung out the rest of that summer right before he went to school, and I learned a lot about what West Point is, and I had a lot of respect for it, and I thought, if it's meant to be, we're gonna make this work.
And right before going to West Point, I let her know that my feelings for her, and we started dating. The 3-year separation was a good thing in that
having that 3 years apart when we were younger kind of set us up for the future in a way that we didn't even realize, because he was about to go to West Point, and at West Point there was no phones, no communication again. And so we thought, well, we've done this once before, we'll see if we can do it again.
I mean, the 4 years at West Point, we were only able to see each other about once or twice a year over a long weekend or spring break, so to speak.
He went to West Point, and I stuck by him through the entire 5 years.
We were able to figure out who we were, talking over the phone, through email, through correspondence, really got to know each other and built up our relationship based on trust and this, shared values that we had, which really benefited us through my military career.
While he was at West Point, though, I learned a lot about what the military is and what the military academy was, and there's so much respect that I gained for every cadet and every officer that was at West Point. And I thought, this is a lifestyle I can see myself getting into. And so, of course, John's like, Sam, no, you're not joining the military. You're a little too outspoken for it. I stayed home, went to dental school. We had gotten engaged. And then shortly after he graduated West Point, the week after, we got married.
Operation Healing Heroes is brought to you by Great Clips, Laguna Carib RV Resort, and by Suzuki Marine.
Operation Healing Heroes is a nonprofit organization dedicated to documenting the lives of our U.S. military veterans. In addition, we also provide financial support and treatment for post-traumatic stress. Your donation will help heal our heroes.
Shortly after he graduated West Point, the week after, we got married.
And after a few short years and several duty stations later, Samantha would give birth to their son, Ian. 10 short days later, Jon was deployed to Afghanistan for 9 long months.
I remember being away and missing Samantha and missing Ian quite a bit, but we were so busy that you had to make time to stop and remember the things that matter. Why are we on the deployment? I mean, that's the question you always ask. Having, a new wife at home and a new child, that was my reason. Like, I'm fighting for them. My guys ended up calling her our platoon mama, and they would always ask, like, you got any new pictures of the baby? So upon returning to the United States, I applied for special operations to be a special operation team leader.
And he had said, out of 100 people, maybe 10 people get selected for this, so don't get your hopes up, but I'm gonna at least go try. And in my heart, I knew that life was about to change. Came back and he said, Sam, I was selected. We're moving to Fort Bragg. And I thought, well, here we go. I knew that Jon would be good at the job that he was about to do.
So my final mission was in Iraq in 2018. It was when ISIS was at the height of their power.
And so when he came home and said, Sam, I've got to go to Iraq, I thought, oh, Iraq right now?
Quite a few Americans were being killed in Iraq and Syria. When I mentioned it to my wife, it created a lot of anxiety. And at one point, my wife even mentioned, she's like, something doesn't feel right about this deployment. We had everybody in our team fill out a will, preparing for the worst. If something bad were to happen, we want to make sure we're prepared for it. Not just a will, but we filled out our next of kin information, made sure everybody had their life insurance up to date and paid. So once I got to Iraq, I was 32 years old. I was a captain in the United States Army. 2 weeks into boots on the ground in Iraq, the commander over the fight against ISIS for special operations approached me and said, I need you to go and be a team leader for a special operations team that I'm putting together that will lead the charge against ISIS.
Only 8 highly trained Special Forces men and women became known as cross-functional team Manbij.
The team comprised of 8 people, just 8. We had multiple Special Forces soldiers, Green Berets. I had a Naval Intelligence Senior Chief. I had a Navy SEAL on my team, like one of those guys, tatted up, big, beefy guy. Like I had a cultural advisor that was my interpreter and translator. Put together this team. The boss gave me a mission: go into Manbij, begin operations that will lead to the defeat of ISIS.
That's amazing. So 8 people went out to go defeat ISIS.
Yes. Our mission was very unique in that we did it through 3 big things. We restored electricity to the entire region through doing a project at a hydroelectric dam. We rebuilt medical infrastructure in the region that I was in, the area of Manbij, and we opened schools back up for girls to return to school after an 8-year prohibition put on them by ISIS. So by doing this, we removed ISIS' ability to control the people and handed that over to the local government, the Syrian Democratic Council, restoring the faith of the people back into their government.
Everywhere the SDF and our coalition partners have removed ISIS, lives are returning to normal. Schools are opening in towns all over eastern Syria.
We were still conducting lethal targeting, kinetic strikes, removing the bad guy from the field of battle, removing ISIS leadership, removing ISIS fighters, and making it so they weren't even there to be able to oppress the people.
So did the local Syrians appreciate the work that you were doing for their community?
They were very grateful, not just the adults that we were working with, but I tell you what, the best day of my entire life thus far was the day when we opened the schools back up for girls to return to school. It was November 2018, we opened schools up, and my team was on the ground in one of the schools as the Syrians opened up the gates for the kids to come in with their backpacks on. And the smiles on the girls' faces was just, something I will never forget. They came up to us. It's not hard to see the Americans standing over in the corner. We provided security along with the Syrians, making sure nothing bad was going to happen. And they would come up, the girls would come over to us, they would hug us, and they would just, multiple times they'd say, thank you. I remember one young lady came over to me and said, thank you for protecting me and let me go to school. She looked at me in the eyes and she said, I love you.
While the Syrian citizens were grateful to the small team of Americans, the ISIS fighters were angered at the progress that the Americans had made.
Every mission we went on, we would recognize the fact that every time the girls went back to school was a slap in the face. Every time somebody went and turned the lights on in their residence, they knew that the coalition had done that for them, that ISIS didn't do that, that the government was taking care of them. Every time somebody was injured and was able to go seek medical aid at a hospital or medical center, every time a woman gave birth in the OBGYN at the hospital, that again, it was a slap in the face to ISIS because they had lost that ability to control the population. So I knew they were becoming very highly agitated. While we were doing all this, we were gathering information and intelligence on ISIS, being able to identify where they were, what they were doing, which led to military strikes, kinetic strikes as we call them, or lethal targeting against the enemy. So not only were they losing their ability to control the people, but they were losing their freedom of movement in the area. They couldn't go out wherever they wanted and do whatever they wanted now, because they knew that if they left their homes and somebody found out about it, and we found out about it, that we would go to their homes and we would arrest them.
Operation Healing Heroes is brought to you by Great Clips, Blue Water Boat Club, and by Power Pole.
So, John, is it bad of me if I ask you to go play some cornhole with me or play some bags?
Not bad at all, as long as you want to lose.
I can't beat my son, so I figured maybe I could beat a blind guy. Hole shot. If you'd like to see more behind-the-scenes footage, follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you'd like to learn more and go deeper into the subject of healing, tune in to the all-new Operation Healing Heroes podcast, Feel the Heal. Hear from veterans, first responders, doctors, nonprofit leaders, and Gold Star families as they share powerful stories of hope, healing, and resiliency. Tune in and feel the heal.
Through the 4 months I spent in Syria, there were no times that I actually feared for my team. I was very confident in them. I had some of the greatest fighters that were in all of Syria, and the professionalism of each of them as we walk. I mean, even in the market, when we're walking through the market, I knew we always had security. Somebody always had their eyes on the outside, eyes on the inside. We were scanning people. We were making sure everybody's taken care of. My time was drawing close to an end. I was supposed to go home January 15th, but we were doing so much good. We had a positive impact in the lives of the people there. I mean, you were seeing smiles where you would never see smiles before, where you only saw terror before. So I was supposed to go home January 15th. The plan was to go home January 15th. I changed that plan, and I told my wife that I wasn't going to be coming home, that I was extending.
He had called me on January 15th, and I'm not one who gets easily angered, but I was pretty upset with John because I was, John, no, you're supposed to be coming home tomorrow. Your orders say tomorrow. And you're telling me you're staying now for a few months. Why? Like, why would you do this? And I said, you're not even supposed to be in Syria, so your orders say come home tomorrow. And he said, Sam, orders don't matter anymore. I am doing a job that I will never be able to do again. This is a job where I am saving lives, I'm helping people, I'm helping children, and I will never be able to do this again.
That was on January 15th, and then January 16th was a day that changed my life forever. My team got together and we went into the city of Manbij. Went there, as I told my wife, we had identified problems in the area that we were going to deal with. We got a follow-on mission of something terrorist within our area, so we were getting ready to move out. Met in front of our vehicles and said, all right, everybody gather around in front of my vehicle. Follow-on mission. Here's what we're going to do. It's called a patrol brief. We're going to go do this. We're going to this location, pull in security. Let's get out of here. So as we were doing that, I turned to get into my vehicle, at which point ISIS fighter had been able to sneak through our outer security being provided by the Syrians and into our inner security, our inner cordon, so to speak. And he was able to weasel his way in between two of my service members, between a Green Beret, Chief Warrant Officer 2, John Farmer, and our Naval Intelligence Officer, Senior Chief Shannon Kent. He was able to get right between them, ferreting his way into our group. As I was getting in my vehicle, this was noticed, and somebody told me, watch out, something's wrong, there's something that shouldn't happen. I turned just at the right moment to see this individual between John and Shannon as he detonated a suicide vest that he was wearing. In that split second, I was able to see the expressions of my teammates who were unaware that this person had come in between them, had come into our group. Both of them were smiling at me. We had done a good thing that day. Life was good at that moment. They were happy. I know that, the feelings that they were feeling, because I, felt pride in my team, knowing what we had done during the earlier part of that day. So turned, I saw this, and that was the last thing I would see as he detonated his vest, killing both Jon and Shannon instantly. At that explosion would end up killing 4 Americans, so not just Chief Warrant Officer John Farmer and Senior Chief Shannon Kent, but killed Mr. Scott Wirtz, who was a petty officer 2nd class in the Navy. He was known as a Navy SEAL. And then the 4th person on my team that was killed was our translator, Miss Gadir Tahir. She was affectionately known by our friends and family as Jasmine.
Immediately following the explosion, Jon, gravely injured, was found wedged beneath a car.
My 3 soldiers that were not killed in the explosion got to work doing triage, getting the children, getting the injured into the ambulances to get them to the hospitals. They had started collecting up body parts of the Americans so that way we could return them home to their family members to be buried. I believe within about an hour or so, I had been in an ambulance and I got to the hospital along with my 2 other soldiers that were gravely injured. They were able to conduct some triage, but they weren't as sophisticated enough to keep us alive. Well, myself in particular, they weren't able to keep me alive. Right eye was nucleated, so blown out. My face I received a lot of trauma to my face. I wasn't very coherent. I remember small things, and it was more feelings than sights and sounds. My eardrums are perforated, so I couldn't hear very well either. I'm worried because something had happened. I can't see, I can't hear. I hurt real bad. What is going on? Are my guys okay? I've got to get to my soldiers. So I'm worried about this. The whole time there's just a piece of me like, it'll be okay, whatever's going on. First, God's got this. God will take care of me. And I believe that God was there in that moment. God was giving me peace. Hey, it'll be okay.
Jon was taken by helicopter to an American base inside of Syria.
They got me in there. The doctor takes a look at me and said, nope, there's nothing we can do for this guy. If he stays here, he's dead. There's 0% chance Jon Turnbull is going to survive 24 hours. 0% chance. It's not going to happen. Impossible. He's going to die.
The Semper Fi Fund is dedicated to providing immediate financial assistance and lifetime support to our nation's critically wounded, ill, and injured service members, veterans, and military families.
If you'd like to recognize a special veteran in your life and see them featured on our website, log on to operationhealingheroes.org and click on the Recognize button.
Operation Healing Heroes is brought to you by Battle-Born Batteries, Laguna Carib RV Resort, and by Wiley X.
Just before his medical evacuation flight from Syria to Iraq, Jon would flatline the first of 3 times.
I coded, meaning my heart stopped beating and I stopped breathing. The doctor actually annotated it in my medical records as a time of death, 16th of January, 2019. Plane's getting ready to take off. A young medic takes over and is like, watch this, doctor, and started performing CPR on me.
For Jon, this was one of many God-given miracles that were set to take place.
He had to perform CPR the entire flight until they transferred me to this new hospital in Baghdad. That flight was 4 hours long.
Oh my God.
So I had a young soldier perform CPR on me for 4 hours, that whole flight, keeping me, he saved my life. He kept me alive through chest compressions and breathing for me. So that was the first time I died. Died again 2 more times when I was in Iraq. Coded, as the doctors would say. Every time I crossed over into death, there was a reason I was brought back. At the time of the explosion, my wife will tell you she knew about it. There's a connection that science doesn't know about. We don't know about, the connection between a husband and a wife. And she knew something was going on, something was wrong. Started to get text messages. She started to get news feeds. They released a video of the explosion. ISIS did from, of all things, a camera I had set up.
I watched this video and I will never forget saying, there's no way anybody survived that at all. You see one little boy run out from this huge fireball, and that was it.
She just spent the whole morning crying and praying. She just was, God help me, God help me, God help Jon. And she would make these phone calls, called our pastor. Pastor, something's going on. I don't know what it is. Jon needs help. And so what did they do? It's like, hey, we know one way we can help. Let's get the church together. Let's start praying. Pray, 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 pray. My mom and dad got a hold of their pastor. They started praying right away.
And I know without a doubt that those prayers that we got are what saved my husband's life, because in my heart, I knew Jon was there and Jon was hurt. And I had several moments that morning where I just had this wave of not peace, definitely not peace, but a little frustration and a feeling of extreme emptiness where I said, Jon's gone. And come to find out, Jon had passed away 3 times that morning. I tried to push it out of my mind, of course, and said, no, that's not him. He's gonna be fine. You just have to have the faith.
Approximately 8 hours after the explosion, Jon was now in Baghdad, Iraq, undergoing emergency surgery to remove a piece of shrapnel lodged in his iliac artery. The surgery was performed by the only American surgeon in the entire Middle East qualified to perform this delicate life-saving surgery.
How cool is it that all these things will align? Coincidence? I don't believe in coincidence. I believe in, divine appointment. God does these things. And that was the same doctor that was on staff that night that I arrived in Baghdad, Iraq, when they found the piece of shrapnel. He was the doctor that was on call, that was in the room actually. And that doctor also was a professed atheist before this. And he told me 3 months later when we were talking face to face back at Walter Reed, that he's like, Jon, before you came into my room, he's like, I didn't believe in God. He's like, after that, I had to sit back and I wondered, wow, how great is God that he would have this explosion, he would have Jon Turnbull get injured in such a way that I was the only person that could work on him, and that piece of shrapnel would stay in my artery for 8 hours through chest compressions on a medical evacuation flight, through Syrian hospital to this hospital, all these different things. It stayed in there long enough just for this doctor to see it. It was impossible that shrapnel would stay in my artery and wouldn't come out. And the only way he could think of it is actually staying in there was God holding on to it, just to show him and say, hey, this is how much I love you. I want you to see this. That doctor said it changed his life forever, and that in that moment, he became a believer not only in God, but in Jesus Christ. And he thanked God, said, thank you for showing me that you are real, that you are powerful, you are mighty, a great healer, and that you will protect us.
After multiple surgeries and months later, Jon would struggle with depression.
God is there, and God has been with me this whole time. I became very depressed. I'd lost my soldiers, I'd lost my eyesight, and my depression was taking over. I asked God for help. Had a knock on my door, and I had a young woman come in, and she said she was a chaplain at the hospital. And she's like, can I pray with you? I was like, yes, ma'am, let's pray. So we started praying, and we prayed all night together, and she prayed for peace, gave me peace, gave me some serenity, hope for the future, and then she left. It was just an absolutely amazing, just wonderful thing, this young woman coming in, just praying with me. The next day, I wanted to thank her. I had to have my wife meet this woman that came into my room and prayed with me. So we called and we made the request. Can we have the girl that came into my room last night and prayed with me come and visit us? The chaplain came into my room, the chaplain in charge of all the chaplains. I was like, I want the female chaplain that was here last night who prayed with me to come back into my room. I want her to meet my wife because she really touched my soul, really helped me out in a time I needed help. And the chaplain that was in charge of all the chaplains said, excuse me, I first have to tell you, I was the only chaplain on call last night. And secondly, we don't have any female chaplains here in our hospital.
Operation Healing Heroes is brought to you by St. Croix Rods, Thorn Brothers, and by Hoist Hydration.
Well, we absolutely got a beautiful day. I'm so glad that I was able to get you out here fishing.
We're so blessed to be able to come down here, enjoy the sunshine a little bit.
Nice, John. That's all you, buddy. Nice trout. Nice job, dude.
Leaving their cold Michigan winter behind, the warm sun and warm waters of Lemon Bay provided a welcome escape for Jon and Samantha.
Sam, I gotta believe that this was like nearly impossible for you to endure everything that you've been through.
Yeah, it was pretty hard. So they told me initially that Jon, when I got to Germany, that he basically was gonna be a vegetable the rest of his life. They told me that half of his face was gone. He lost all of his teeth, lost his hearing. He was paralyzed on his left side. And because of that, you know, you kind of lose hope.
Yeah.
And you just think, well, is this worth it? Is this the type of life that I would want? And I had to put myself in Jon's shoes for a little bit. And they had even told me, you know, he's so bad that he's on full life support. How would you like to proceed? And how do you make that decision?
Yeah.
And I just said, you know what? God's got him this far so far. If it's his time to go, he'll do it, not me.
Right.
And that was a really hard day. And, you know, you question everything and you question, you know, why me? Why now? And I had asked my chaplain, I just said, you know, I really need some prayer right now because I don't know how to continue on. This is really difficult. It's hard to take in. And I don't feel like God's present anymore. And being raised in the church and having your faith be doubted, I just had to pray about it. And so our chaplain started praying, and in the middle of his prayer, I stopped him and I said, whoa, time out for a second. I just saw something that I haven't noticed before on Jon. And we had been there about a week at the time, and I just said, you know, where did this come from? And I had looked at Jon's hand, and on his hand is the perfect shape of a cross, and it's fire red. And the chaplain had said, you know, if you ever doubted your faith, now's the time to stop that.
Despite being engulfed in a fireball, standing a mere 5 feet away from the suicide bomber, Jon's body was absent of a single burn, except for the burn on his hand that served as a reminder that God was with Jon and Samantha then and now.
From that moment on, I mean, his recovery became faith-based, 100%. And definitely was a pivotal point in our lives, especially mine. And to ever doubt faith, it was very, very silly of me to ever do so. It was just in that moment we knew that God had spared his life for some reason. And what it was, we didn't really know. And when I told Jon about his hand, he said, you know, if this had to happen for one person's life to be saved, I will do it over and over again. Through all that, though, they had said one of the worst diagnoses I thought was that they had said, your husband's never going to remember you. And he won't remember your son. He probably won't remember his parents, but we can't make that call until, you know, he actually wakes up, and we'll do some assessment on him. And a few days later came, they wanted to test Jon on his reflexes for paralysis and all that stuff. And I said, well, since he's going to be off medication, is it okay if I talk to him? And they said, well, sure, it can't hurt, but, you know, just see what happens and just don't get your hopes up. He woke up a little bit. First thing he did was started reaching for everything on him to pull it off. And so I grabbed his hand and I just said, hey, Jon, it's me. I'm here. You know, we're in Germany. You don't have to be worried. Everything's fine. But this is Sam. Do you know who I am? And he squeezed my hand 3 times, which is kind of a corny love story between us where when we weren't able to tell each other, I love you, we would squeeze each other's hand. And I mean, I stopped and of course tears started and I cried a little bit and I just said, you know, everything's gonna be okay. Jon remembers who I am. And the doctors, they couldn't believe it, of course. And they're like, wait, what? And so it was a very, very special moment. But it was also one of those moments that I had said, you know, you guys may be physicians, but you're not the ultimate physician.
Operation Healing Heroes is brought to you by Recon Boats, SKB Cases, and by the Al Lynch Foundation.
The sacrifices that you've made for our freedom, hindsight, is it worth it?
Yes, I would say it's definitely worth it. America's worth it. The citizens of this country are worth it. The freedom is worth it. I would do it over again 1,000 times. It is definitely worth it.
Well, I want to say for all the things that you've done for us and that you continue to do to give back to all the other veterans. I can't say thank you enough, but I definitely want to give you a little bit of a token of our appreciation, if you don't mind. And right here behind you, I'm just going to reach behind you here. Not getting fresh, I promise
you are.
I promise you, I'm not getting fresh.
There's some
I
love.
have a fishing rod here for you that's it says, in appreciation of your sacrifice and service, Jon Turnbull, and it's got our logo, the Operation Healing Heroes logo, along with the American flag and all the branches of service on there.
Jeez,
that's
awesome.
for you, and I also would like to
Oh, cool.
give you a jersey, an Operation Healing Heroes jersey that says Jon on the front, Turnbull on the back, and it's the jersey that I'm wearing right now that lists all of our local sponsors, and I just can't say thank you enough.
Oh, thank you.
Obviously, we know that God was not done with you, and
Not done yet.
throughout this story, we've heard so many times about how God basically put you back on this earth to continue your journey of healing others, but I'm honored that you allowed us to do this with you. So with the advances of modern medicine, are you optimistic that maybe there's better days ahead for you?
So one thing I would like to reiterate was that very first time when I arrived in that Syrian hospital, 0% chance Jon's gonna survive. I kept getting that number over and over and over again, 0% chance of survival. 0% chance Jon can make it. 0% chance initially that I would be able to stand up. 100% chance I was paralyzed on my left side, giving me 0% chance I could move on my left side. They also gave me 0% chance I would remember anything. I had shrapnel go into my brain, and they said it would wipe out my memory, so I wouldn't remember my wife, I wouldn't remember my son, wouldn't remember what happened. I'm here. I mean, I did die, but I got better. 0% chance of standing up. I mean, I'm moving my left side. Here's my left side, so you guys can see. I mean, I have feeling in it. 0% chance I would remember my wife. First thing I remember, my wife, she's a dental assistant. She stuck her fingers in my mouth to check my teeth. I remember my wife. So we kept getting these 0% chances of survival, 0% chance of surviving that wound in the iliac. It happened. So I started to wonder, what happens when you're given 0% chance and it happens? I mean, that's impossible. It can't happen. So I like to say when given 0% chance and it happens, that's 100% God. God stepping in. We know science, medicine, but we don't know the great healer. We don't know the maker of heaven and earth. And God can do some extraordinary things. So continue to get these 0% chance ultimatums, and they happen. So during asking about modern, advances in modern medicine, well, when they were working on my left eye, I sat down with the doctor and afterwards, and I was like, I can't see out of it. And they're like, I know, we cut large chunks of it out, and your optic nerve is broken and damaged. We can't fix it. She's like, Jon, I'm like, so okay, so what do we do? You know, the cord's broke between the TV and the VCR, you splice it, wrap them things together, wrap some electrical tape around it, and you're good to go. What do we gotta do to see again? She's like, Jon, you're never gonna see again. There's 0% chance that you'll ever see again. I remember I offended the doctor because in that moment I go, great, you just invited God into this fight.
Right.
So one day, I'm going to see again. One day, when I can see again, I told her, I was like, I'm gonna come into your office, I'm gonna look you in the eye, I'm gonna say, see how great my God is? Because it is going to happen. A few years ago, Pittsburgh University published a research, we can fix damaged optic nerves. I was like, great, let's do it. You know, let's fix that wire, wrap some electrical tape around it, and let's get going. But my eyeball was so damaged that they had to take a large part of it out. A lot of the seeing, the tools that are used to see, retina, cornea, stuff like that, had to be removed to save my life. So now I was like, well, we can fix the damaged optic nerve, but what's next? Well, now I'm working with NYU, New York University research individuals. A guy's he wants to do the first eye transplant. He's already performed an eye transplant, but the individual has no function out of the eye. So now his goal is, rather than just cosmetic, it's like, John, let's do some research. Let's figure out a way to connect a donor eyeball to your brain. We're gonna get you seeing again. So I'm in the research process right now, working with these guys. So we will see again. And the doctors even say, he's like, John, we're gonna do it. We're gonna find a way, and you're gonna see again. So that 0% chance is looking mighty good to me, because again, 100% God. You've invited God into this situation, into this scenario, and there's nothing my God can't do. As to your question, yes, I will see again. And if there's any ISIS fighters left, I'm coming for you.
As you just learned, Major Jon Turnbull is well underway in his healing journey. However, Operation Healing Heroes will always be here for him to provide additional support if needed. If you'd like to personally thank a veteran that you've seen in one of our episodes, or nominate a veteran to be featured in a future episode, log on to our website, operationhealingheroes.org, and click on the Nominate button.